Anyway, questions we have a lot tonight. Jim Jordan has announced a new joint House investigation, by the way, into that deal. But make no mistake, this is now a two-part scandal. It involves serious bribery allegations against the sitting president of the United States and a cover-up by his Department of Justice that has been politicized and weaponized, that same DOJ that throws the book at his chief political rival. That guy's name is Donald Trump. And meanwhile, remember Hunter Biden's pricey portraits of a crackhead? Well, we have breaking news at this hour. John Solomon's editor-in-chief, justthenews.com. Some of those masterpieces, paint by numbers, might have gone all the way to China. All right, here with reaction, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan. All right, this is an important day. Congressman Comer, I'll start with you. Let's talk about the major takeaways today and how real of a bribery Joe Biden bribery scandal allegation is this?
Well, every day this bribery scandal becomes more credible. I mean, let's look at what Devon Archer testified today. He said that not only was Joe Biden on the phone over 20 times with people, including the Burisma executives, talking about whatever, even though the president denied that he never spoke to any of these people. He also said that Hunter Biden was under immense pressure while they both served on the Burisma board to call Washington, D.C. immediately and try to get Shokin fired. That's the Ukrainian prosecutor. And not many days later, Joe Biden traveled to Ukraine, and we've all seen the video that where Joe Biden brags about withholding foreign aid to Ukraine in exchange for the Ukrainian president firing the prosecutor who was investigating his son's corrupt energy company.
Let me make sure we have the timeline here. So this is December 2015, if I'm not mistaken. That meeting took place in Dubai, and Zolochevsky was at that meeting, the owner of Burisma, the head of Burisma. And it was at that meeting they were desperate to get help from Joe Biden. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment.
Okay. And then immediately thereafter, Joe traveled. And right after that, Joe Biden, I have the tape you're referring to. Let's remind people.
I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, what, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired.
Son of a B, they fired him, James Comer.
That's a quid pro quo, Sean. That's very illegal. We have evidence in this sworn testimony that from a fellow Burisma board member that they were pressuring Hunter to immediately get on the phone with his father and get this stopped. So, wow. You know, the evidence continues to mount. And today we saw Joe Biden has lied to the American people. He knew exactly who his son was getting those millions and millions of dollars of wires from, and he spoke to them, and he spoke to them often.
And the son complained bitterly that he had to give half his income to Pops, pay for his home repairs. Jim Jordan, let's get your takeaways. But 20 times calls with these foreign business partners about the weather, and the 1023 form actually quotes the Burisma CEO as saying that he had to pay. He didn't want to pay, but he paid $5 million to one Biden, $5 million to another Biden. And it's going to take 10 years for you guys to figure out where that money came from.
Yeah, Sean, but it's all an illusion, according to the Democrats. I mean, go back to that meeting that you and Jamie were just talking about, this illusion of access. They're having a board meeting in Dubai on December 4th, 2015. After the board meeting, Hunter Biden meets with Devon Archer, Zolochevsky, and Pizarski, the two key guys who run Burisma. They meet for drinks. During that meeting, they say, we need the U.S. government to intervene. We're under pressure from the prosecutor. We're facing pressure in Great Britain because they've sanctioned and seized our assets, £23 million in Britain. We need some help. They make a phone call to D.C. Mr. Archer, I don't know who they call, but they called D.C. And 5 days later, December 9th, 2015, Joe Biden is in Ukraine, and he gives a speech starting the pressure on the prosecutor in Ukraine. 5 days after that meeting, 5 days after a phone call to D.C., 5 days where they used the Biden brand, according to what we learned today. The Biden brand was the value Hunter Biden brought to this business arrangement. That took place simply 5 days later.
The brand was Joe, wasn't it,
And
though?
then, of course, we know. Yeah, the brand was totally Joe Biden, the guy with the power and the connections in D.C. But 5 days after that, this conversation takes place, this speech takes place, and then a few months later, that clip you just played, Shokin gets fired. That's how serious this was.
Let's talk, Jim Jordan, about the brand. Let's connect this also to the 1023 form. And this is a very credible FBI informant, because the FBI deemed that person an informant. They paid him a fortune and apparently used him to testify in certain cases. So they have this credible statement, meeting with the CEO, quoting directly the CEO of Burisma. Hunter's dumb as dirt. His dog is smarter than Hunter. And they're paying the money that he doesn't want to pay, and that you're never going to be able to trace that money for 10 years. Are you going to be able to trace that money?
Well, Mr. Comer's working on it. Our staff's working on the Oversight Committee. Chairman Comer, that's what we're trying to do, figure all that out. But here's the takeaway I have today, too, Sean. I thought today's testimony from Mr. Archer gave a whole new light to what happened last week. Remember last week, this deal they put together that the judge said, no deal. We're not going to do that because it was unprecedented, never seen anything like this. The deal they put together was designed to keep Burisma out of it. Remember, they weren't going to charge for 2014, 2015 tax years. They weren't going to do the felony charges because that's Burisma money. And the FARA allegation, the FARA concern derives from this action that took place in Dubai, where Hunter Biden is talking about how can the U.S. government, they're asking Hunter Biden, how can the U.S. government intervene and help us in this situation? So now we have some more light on that terrible deal they tried to put together last week, and why the judge, appropriately so, asked questions, and it's no longer going to happen.
20 times that they put Joe Biden on the phone was to talk to, make pleasantries with Hunter's friends, and not assert or assure people that the father was going to be helpful to these companies. What other reason would they pay an admitted addict all that money, James Comer? Can you explain how does an admitted addict make all that money? What services then was he offering if Joe was not the brand?
Well, Devon Archer testified that they were influence peddling. We've wondered what the business was. I suspected it was influence peddling, but we heard today from someone on the inside, it was influence peddling. They sold Joe Biden. That's what the business was. And Joe Biden himself talked to every single person that has wired money to the Bidens. I mean, you've got a situation here where you look at those people who were wiring the money. A lot of those people aren't the most credible people in their countries. There are a lot of people who are in a lot of trouble in many of these countries who were sending wires to the Biden family. They needed help. They needed help from the government. That's why they paid the Biden family. They were influence peddling. And what Jim Jordan just mentioned, the FARA violations, that's Foreign Agents Registration Act, we know that Hunter Biden has violated that. Even the judge in Delaware last week cited that as one reason why she rejected the sweetheart plea deal. But what this did today, in my opinion, is open the door. Did Joe Biden violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act? Because he was an active participant in at least one deal we know of with the Burisma deal. He was actively participating in doing a benefit to this foreign agent for this foreign country, and he was withholding American tax dollars in the form of foreign aid for that. I mean, this is very serious. Today took a huge step towards implicating Joe Biden in many of these crimes. We're going to continue to press forward in our investigation.
And Jim Jordan, Devon Archer admitted Burisma would have gone out of business if not the brand and Joe Biden was the brand. Again, go back to the WhatsApp message. And now it brings us to your investigation in the Judiciary Committee. And that investigation is about whether or not this Department of Justice is weaponized. Is this Department of Justice with Chris Wray and Merrick Garland, is it being weaponized against Republicans? And are they protecting the Biden family syndicate? Are they protecting Joe Biden? Why didn't they want to hand over that 1023 form, knowing how damning that was? Why was it so difficult to get suspicious activity reports?
And God bless this judge last week who asked the right questions. The court there in Delaware looking at, I would encourage people to read that transcript and go through there what she asked, because she said, has this kind of agreement ever been, is this unprecedented? And the answer was, yes, it is. Yes, it's never happened before. So she, I think, laid it out how wrong it was that they tried to put together this type of deal. And I think that demonstrates how the Justice Department has been, frankly, turned against the American people and not applying the law in an equal manner like they're supposed to in our great country. So we want to talk to these people. Now, there's a 30-day time frame, so we're trying to get and talk to many of the people who were in that famous October 7th meeting that Mr. Shapley and Mr. Ziegler talked about when the whistleblowers came and testified. We want to talk to people in that meeting. We want to talk to others involved in this investigation, but we'll see how this next 30 days plays out as they get to the new plea agreement, whatever that's going to be.
Let me tell you, and this is why the Republicans that have one half of one house of government, one branch of government is so critical, because this would all get covered up. And both of you have put your neck on the line to get to the truth, and we went a long way today. And will you both answer yes or no? Do you believe that this is now officially the Joe Biden bribery allegation, and do you believe that you will be able to prove that? Jim Comer.
I sure hope so. And I do believe that there's a lot of smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire. We just heard testimony today that Joe Biden had lied to the American people.
Jim Jordan, do you believe that? And do you believe the DOJ has been helping to cover it up?
Well, it sure looks that way. And I would tell you this, Joe Biden said he was not involved. There were 2 dinners at the Cafe Milano in D.C. One of them, as you pointed out, where Joe Biden was there for the entire dinner both times. One of them had Mrs. Baturina, this Russian, the wealthiest woman in Russia, worth over $1 billion. So that sure is a different story than what he's been telling us all along.
All right, great work, both of you. We appreciate your time. Both Jim Jordan, James Comer, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.